Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the art of perfection. Now, this is going to be a tune-up series, everyone. So if you are not familiar with the podcast, a tune-up series is going to be an article or is going to be an episode where it's going to really dive deep into mindset. If you have been a long-time listener of the podcast, most likely you have a decent enough mindset to get away with this, especially if you haven't had coaching. If you had coaching, most likely just probably 2 to 3 weeks of coaching, you will probably be in the right mindset to take this information and then begin to digest it. Because it is easy to look at perfection as a surface level type of thinking. Well, they're so perfect. They have such a good life. They have the cars. They have, they're so pretty. They have big muscles. They have six packs. They're so tall and handsome. I mean, we can go all day with what makes a person perfect on the surface level. However, some of these people that we call beautiful on the outside, they're really actually evil on the inside. They're bad people. They just don't treat people well. You probably heard about this. If you ever go on a date with somebody, right? And you're on a date, and they treat the waiter or the server bad, it's probably a clear tell sign that that person needs some type of coaching to look at some of their actions. Now, they might not want to change your actions, and that's perfectly fine. Again, we're not trying to find fixer-upper projects. We're not trying to fix people. That person's just not for us. Maybe we don't have those same views. But maybe you are that same person of you don't like the waiter. Or maybe that waiter deserves not to be liked, right? Maybe there is some truth there. We do have to look at multiple aspects. We have to be critical thinkers, as we said last week. But there's an issue with perfectionism. It creates a facade not only by our image, but into our mindset. And then it also creates obstacles that stop us from truly living to who we want to be. A lot of people think they want a perfect life where they have no worries and no problems. But there are quite a bit of people who get to that lifestyle. You know what the first thing they do is? They look for drama, they look for negativity, they fill it into their life because they can't relinquish it because they haven't done the work to relinquish it. It's very similar to if they have always been this way, they're going to keep on being this way unless they do the tremendous amount of work of change. And most people just don't change overnight. It takes years of consistent effort and of thinking for that change to occur. But if I want to be perfect, I just have to do this, they say. If I want to look beautiful, I just have to put on this makeup. If I want to get a six-pack abs, I just have to, put this machine on my abs. It's not about hard work anymore. It's about give me the quick stuff again. Perfectionism has turned more into I want it quick. Can it be done quick? Not so much of time, but then there is also the idea of time. We're going to be talking about both aspects today, but let's get into the blog so we can look at some of the things and some of the talking points that are going to lead our conversation. All right, everyone, if you're new to the channel or podcast, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and to share the video and or audio to help build a community of like-minded individuals. Today, we're going to be talking about the idea of perfectionism. Now, like I said, TOS part 59, we are making our way up. TOS, they only come out one time a month. The third Monday is going to be the episode, and the third Sunday is going to be the article of every month. I encourage everyone to always stay tuned for those moments. They're going to be moments that are going to, again, help your mindset think in a deeper manner. Now, the reason why this blog came about was because I do a lot of reading, and I read a book by the Dalai Lama, and the book is The Book of Joy, Lasting Happiness in a Changing World, right? And it's the first thing I say. And the quote that I want to share with you today, I'm going to read it, is you are made for perfection, but you are not yet perfect. You are a masterpiece in the making. And when I heard that quote from the Dalai Lama, I said that is a powerful way to think, that we are made for perfection, but we are not yet perfect. When do we achieve that perfection? Some people, they try to achieve perfection in a way that is going to be the aspect of makeup, right? The aspect of the quick fix, right? I'm going to do this think of like a surgery, right? Like they have the bypass surgeries and stuff, I think, for like if someone wants to lose weight, it might be that, or it might be the stapling of the stomach. There might be two different surgeries. I'm not too familiar with them because I probably will never get them. This is something that you have to look at, right? We can be perfect, but we're not there yet. Okay. We are a masterpiece in the making. We are continually growing and changing. This is important. Why would someone look at themselves as a masterpiece in the making and do nothing? Oh, I'm a masterpiece in the making and I'm going to sit on the sofa. I'm a masterpiece in the making. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and I'm going to say I'm big and beautiful. I'm beautiful just the way I am. I don't have to change a thing. But we're not yet perfect. So if you think you are perfect, if you think you're a 10 out of 10, ask yourself this question. What are you doing to maintain that? What are you doing to keep that perfection? Because it doesn't stay there. Put a car that you just washed out into the sun, into, just the driveway. And eventually that car is not going to be clean anymore. The car didn't drive anywhere. It sat there in the driveway. Even if you put a cover over it, when you take the cover off, it's still going to be dirty. You have to wash it. It could be pollen on it. It could be dirt. It could be spider webs, whatever. The car is not perfect like it was when you washed it. The car might not be perfect like when you drove it off the lot. We can make it perfect in our eyes, of course, but it's not the same as continually making ourselves the masterpiece or getting closer to the masterpiece. Sometimes an artist can work on a piece of art for months because it's not yet complete. Yet if you ask anyone on day, 30, hey, this is looking real good. Like, is it done? Can I buy it? They're like, no, it's not done yet. And they spend 2 more months working on it, adding small details. This could be perfectionism. Then we get into the talking points today. Perfectionism can be split into 3 different categories. The idea of traits, the idea of mentality, and the idea of reality. Now, the idea and the traits of perfectionism are going to be talking about how we focus on the mind, right? This is looking at who we become, a trait of a person, right? The mentality. Think of it as you can be a person that has a high level of self-doubt. You could be a person that has high standards, right? These can be traits of a person. And this is going to make it difficult to be a person that makes mistakes. The trait of perfectionism is I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to seem like I'm a person that makes mistakes or that I'm incomplete or I'm not efficient, right? Everything is done to be perfect. We want the best photos on Instagram. We want the best photos online. We want the best videos, etc. Yet sometimes I make mistakes. I'm human. And it's okay for me to make mistakes. I love the idea of if you listen to episode 1 of Coaching in Session, how many problems did we have in that episode? Audio issues, maybe video issues. There's a lot of stuff going on in those early episodes. And I started to fix them along the way. And as we go on, there's going to be a moment coming soon where everything changes. There's going to be different audio sounds. There's going to be different videos. It's going to be more vivid. It's going to be more immersive. And I'm going to look back at this episode and I'm going to say, well, this episode is no good. But I'm going to say the journey was what got me here. Everyone wants perfection from the start. Oh, I need to have this. I need to have that. And everything has to be perfect before I take action. And if you are that type of person and you give yourself that trait of perfectionism there, you are going to be a person that readily doesn't take action. You're going to put off until a later date. You're going to say, well, I'm not ready yet. You're waiting for the right moment because you don't want to do something that's incomplete. And maybe you shouldn't, right? Think of it as a car. If the car is being made and it only has 4 wheels and maybe the engine and the steering wheel, you're probably not going to take it out, right? It still needs, windows and doors and paint, headlights. The car was incomplete. But there's an idea of being complete and then being perfect. We do want the car to be perfect going out because, again, it is going to be a consumer model like, hey, this car is perfect. We want you to have it. We give that facade. But yet the car can have flaws. The car can have some issues. It can have a bad battery. It can have things that are wrong with the internals. Maybe something went wrong in the building process. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be functional for a time being. But many people, they give themselves the traits that they have. I'm going to do this. I have high standards, and those high standards can lead to high levels of self-doubt if they're not able to achieve what they would like to. And then we get into the idea of mentality, which is closely related to the traits, but we're going to be focused on the proponent of, now I'm looking at if things are going to make me happy, if things are going to give me a good outcome, and then if I'm doing the things that are going to help me live a life without regret. It is easy to say, okay, I give myself this mentality of perfectionism, and everything has to be perfect. My life has to be perfect. My relationship has to be perfect. My family has to be perfect. My job has to be perfect. And when we do that, what does that do to our state of being when something doesn't go our way? Let's say our relationship, right? There's always a crazy cycle. There's always a moment in our relationship where we're like, let me focus for a little bit. Let me communicate with my partner. Let me see what's going on. If you have a bad moment in your relationship, it seems like the house of cards or the Jenga blocks are finally starting to fall and topple over. You're like, whoa, now my mind is all confused. And this is where a lot of people are anxious and they're not happy because their mentality of perfectionism, there's something wrong in their life. Nothing can be perfect if everything is not going right. But then we look at the third aspect, reality. Well, the reality is going to be the truest form, right? What's really going on? The expectations that we set for ourselves. Many people, we have high expectations, but then for some reason with these expectations, we might fall short one day, or maybe a week, or a month, or a year, or a lifetime. That's why we can look at our life in different models, in different eras. When we were 20, we might have been this fit young guy. We might have been this smoking hot chick. And then all of a sudden now we're this angry Karen or Ken, worried about people, taking more Tic Tacs than they should in the checkout lane. It doesn't make any sense to me, but to them it does, because that is the life that they want to live. That becomes their reality. They become bitter because at some point when we're no longer perfect, or we're not perfect in our eyes anymore, because if we looked at ourselves when we were 20 and we said we were perfect, if how we thought was perfect, and then all of a sudden we think differently, all of a sudden we look differently, all of a sudden we compare to other people, to other things in life, and we are not even a fraction of what that person is or what that thing is, we're going to say we're no longer perfect. And now people start to break down. Now people start to think in a negative fashion. They realize that they're not perfect, yet they could be, yet they should be, or should they? So all of these questions of reality start to lead into the idea of perfectionism for the time now and perfection of the time later. This is a concept that people don't necessarily want to bring into their conscious or their psyche, because I like things being, in order. However, I am 100% certain if you are a parent, things are always not going to be perfect. For example, my kid, 2, he's only 2, right? He's coloring on walls, he's coloring on iPads and stuff like that. He's coloring on all of my notebooks and all my notepads I use for clients. And I'm like, whatever, I'll buy a new one. I'll get something else. But when I was single and I was like, like a playboy and, all those things going on in my life, everything was in order. My apartment was clean. It was like, whoa, good job, Michael. Everything was in order. I loved it. Now it's almost like I have controlled chaos. When you have kids, you have controlled chaos. This is like, whoa, boom, 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 toys everywhere. Not a problem. We clean. He messes everything up again. Not a problem. We're not worried about that, because I understand something about being a parent. I understand about growing up as a person. We're going to be learning along the way, and I learn every single day. How can I be perfect when I'm still a masterpiece in the making. And this is why I read that quote early on. We are all meant, or we have the ability for perfectionism, but we're not there yet. We have to continually build ourselves up. This is what this episode is about. The art of perfectionism is not about being perfect right now. It's not about looking in the mirror saying, I'm perfect, I'm good to go. It's about, all right, I'm looking in the mirror. What needs to be changed? And this is not to say that you don't appreciate who you are. I love the idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was, young and he was becoming, Mr. Olympia or the Olympian, and he was doing all of like his, body workouts and stuff like that. You know what he did? He looked in the mirror and he goes, oh, my biceps are nice. And he goes, oh, I need to work on this and I have to work on that. Okay, this is going to look better if I do this more. And then he's over here doing all of these different things. But he was never saying, oh, I'm too fat. Oh, I'm a weak man. He didn't give himself those negative thoughts. He said what he needed to work on. And you know what he did? He worked on it. And he was able to win big. His life was changed because he understood that he was a masterpiece in the making. He had the dream to become, a Hollywood star, to be this big guy. He had a dream, and he worked every single day tirelessly to get to it. Yet we work every single day to get our fast food and to get home as quick as possible to sit on the sofa and watch reruns. It could be your lifestyle, but you do have to give yourself this idea of you can be a better version of yourself. You probably heard me talk about this. I know most motivational speakers, life coaches, they talk about this idea of becoming a person that reaches their fullest potential. What does that mean, right? You can be a person that reaches your fullest potential and you can still not be happy, because you might say, well, now that I finally got here, I should be happy, but we're not giving ourselves the mindset for that. Our fullest potential is our capabilities at the moment. Maybe you are only at 90% today. I remember I was sick with a cold, early in February, like it was like January, February, March, around that time. And it was like I got sick back to back. I got the flu, and then I got the omnivirus or the norovirus or whatever you call that thing from my kid. And it's just like, whoa, dropped me down a couple of notches. But I didn't say, oh, boo-hoo, poor me. I almost appreciated that because I learned that I was human again. Right? I'm human, right? Even though things were going the way I wanted to, things were far from perfect, but I paid attention. And I love the idea of paying attention when you're not perfect, because you can start to see what needs to be worked on. A lot of people, they ignore the things that are not perfect. Or they say, oh, I'm not going to look at that and that's not going to become my reality, right? They're delusional in the sense. They look in the mirror and let's say they got a bunch of pimples. I'm not saying that, if you got pimples, you can't be beautiful. But I'm just saying that there's going to be things that if we look at the world stigma, it's not going to be perfect, right? The face can be, clear, clean. A guy, if you're clean shaven, or you can have a 6 o'clock shadow, right? 6 o'clock shadow can be kept neat, but typically, it's going to be better if it's shaven, right? You don't want all that hair on the neck, or you want your hair all messed up and discombobulated, or if you're a female, your hair is, has frizzies and stuff like that. To people that, her hair is messed up, or his face needs to be trimmed or something like that, or hair needs to be cut. That's just how people think. Maybe to you, you're perfect, but to the world, there's some work that needs to be done. And then we get into the aspect of what is perfectionism to you and what is perfectionism to the world. You might say, I want to be the perfect parent. Okay, what does that mean? Well, being a perfect parent is giving my kids every single thing they want and, always rescuing them, and then always fighting their battles, and then always loving them, and then always taking them out to eat, because when I was younger, I never had those things. I want to give my kid the life that I never had. That is probably the worst thing you can ever do for your child. But then you can give yourself a different mindset as a parent. I want my child to go through adversity. I want my child to learn how to fight. Not fight physically, but fight mental battles. Learn when it's time to act and when it's time to react. Sometimes there's going to be moments that they're going to feel unloved. I want them to feel those moments and to not feel like no one truly unloves them. It's just a moment in their life where they have to come to reality that not everything is going to be good. Those moments are going to build better children than if you just give a child everything that they ever want. Not saying you can't spoil them. You should if you have the ability to. They're going to appreciate the time you spend with them, how much time you spend talking with them, not how much money you spend on them, not about fighting their battles. Now they will appreciate, you having their back. That's a different conversation, trust. But today is the idea of perfectionism, trying to be the perfect parent. What is that? It can be different to different adults, to different people. And your child is yours to build. It's almost like you are the artist and they're the canvas. You get to choose who is going to also work on that canvas, what schools you put them in. The teacher is an artist. The school is going to be also part of the art process. They might be the paint. Is it good paint? Is the quality of materials good? Sometimes it's not. So we have to make sure we give them the best situations. The best situations, again, are going to be, reasonable to some level, to some extent, because you might not be able to do everything at once because of financial woes, of circumstances, life circumstances. There are many things that can stop you from making sure everything is perfect, but it doesn't mean that you can't try. So there's so much to perfectionism when we look at it in a nutshell. There are a lot of people who post these pictures and stuff online, and they make sure they have the best angle. They probably take 100 pictures and they only send up, like 2 or 3 because they find the best ones that they love and that gives them the best features. And I'm not saying that you can't do that, but now you're setting a standard for yourself, right? The bar. And if a picture doesn't look as good or something like that, you're not going to post it. The Instagram models and girls, they don't post pictures typically of them just waking up with no makeup. Hey, just woke up, got no makeup on, but I'm still beautiful. But then they're here taking pictures of their expensive outfits and they're, having all this makeup on. They just got their hair done for the 15th time today. I mean, now they consider themselves perfect. Even if they, have a little belly or whatever, they're not worried about that. They're worried about the image that I have created for myself is close to perfect or close enough to perfect that is going to be acceptable for me. And even if I start to go downhill, whatever is perfect for me is perfect. However, most people will benefit if they say, I'm going to be perfect. This is the standard. I have to reach that level versus then I'm going to become that level. And then I am now at the level that I have become because I have, forced myself to be at this level, and it's a temporary fix. It's easy to put on a waist trainer. It's easy to put on, slim fitting clothes. I know like they have like these tight fitting clothes for like guys, like you can wear these things that are compression clothes and it like tightens everything up and it seems like you're thinner. This is not going to take away the aspect of hard work. We have to not give ourselves that out. We have to give ourselves the idea that we can become perfect in a sense, but do we really truly want to be perfect? I mean, it's nice to do things right. It's nice to, have nice things and things in order. But at the same time, I'm not going to be worried about if things are out of place. I have other things to worry about and other things to, for my mind to be focused on than if things are perfect. Because the delivery, the message, it can be good enough. And you have to ask yourself, is good enough efficient enough? Or does everything have to be perfect? Because if you try to make everything perfect in your life, maybe you come to a point in your time where perfectionism is not going to be exactly what you should be looking at. Some people are just trying to survive, not even be perfect. And that's the whole aspect. And in this article right here, the TUS Part 59, The Art of Perfection, we talk about the different types of mentalities, traits, realities here in what perfectionism is. And I always encourage everyone to take a look at the blog because it is going to give a different type of mindset. It's going to be talking about different aspects of what perfectionism is. And it's going to get into all the different nuances of what perfectionism is and how we should be looking at it. So I encourage everyone, again, check out this blog. The link is in the description box below. And now that we understand that living a perfect life is not so much about being that perfect model, being that perfect coach, being that perfect mom or dad or husband or daughter or whatever, or son, this is about you understanding where you are right now. Because if you can make progress in your life, you are making momentum for yourself, for your future. And then from there, we can grow, we can prosper, we can change. The people who say that they're perfect the way they are, they give themselves a roadblock. If I'm perfect the way I am, why do I have to change? Why do I have to be healthy? Why do I have to focus on my mindset? I'm perfect just the way I am. Versus if we say, I can work on this, I can enhance this. And maybe we give ourselves, this subconscious idea because our conscious is telling us we're beautiful and we're going to believe that readily. But then if we look at our critical thinking skills and we go into our subconscious and our unconscious, we can see that maybe what we are living right now is far from perfect. So if you're giving yourself this idea of perfectionism, whether it be a good thing or bad thing, the bad thing being you can't submit things that are not perfect. Or if you do something that's wrong and it's not perfect, you regret doing it, or you're going to be a person that gives yourself a hard time for failing in a sense. This is going to be the unhealthy levels of perfectionism. Perfectionism is going to be an art form where you continually build yourself up. In a sense, we are never truly perfect, but we can be perfect for the right people. We could be perfect for the right moments. We can be perfect for the time being. And we get to decide what that perfectionism is. And like I said, there's always going to be the right fit for people. That's why in coaching in session, we have wonderful coaches that come on, talk about their work. I might not be the perfect coach for you. And I understand I won't be the perfect coach for everybody. But that is why I have all of these coaches come on, because one of them is going to be the perfect fit for you. I love hearing stories from the coaches that come on, and we have a great conversation, a great episode, and we put it out and a person contacts them, because I understand not everyone gets contacted because, again, they're not the right fit for them. And the individual that spoke to the person, the way they spoke, their demeanor, everything was the right fit. They resonated with each other. And, the client reaches out and they say, hey, I would love to work with you. And then I get an email or I get a text message or whatever. And they say, hey, this person reached out to me. They say they listened to your episode. And I just say, good job. I'm so happy for you. I say, keep up the good work or whatever. I say, they're going to love you, whatever I say. But the idea is, it wasn't because of me. It was because of them. They did the work to be the best version of themselves. They held themselves accountable. And I do my best to make sure the highest quality coaches come on. Sometimes, you're going to look at a coach and you're going to say, oh, I'll never have this person as a coach. And again, that's your standard. All right. You're probably not going to go out in your pajamas. Maybe. I know a lot of people do, but we create standards for ourselves. The expectations that we have can be leading us up to perfectionism. Some people, they say, oh, I can't leave the house without a blazer, or a button down or something along those lines. For me, heck, I got my polo. I got my Reven Concepts t-shirts. I got my pants. I got my jeans, whatever. The pants don't matter to me. Depends on where I go. If I'm going to the gym, I'm wearing basketball shorts, or I'm wearing like sweatpants. Doesn't matter. At least to me. Materialistic goods, I can care less about them. Now, if you talk to me about in my 20s before I did mindset work, I was all about materialism. I was all about, making sure my car was good. I was making sure, my clothes were good, and especially in my teen years. Well, I mean, there's a lot of perfectionism going on, but it is a part of life in a sense. We have to experience it, and then we have to understand do we want to make this a reality every single day? And I say, well, if I was always trying to be perfect, I would be exhausted and I would probably not get a lot of things done. So I said, I would rather get more things done, be more efficient and more effective, and learn and grow than worrying about making everything perfect. When I first started doing my blogs, I think it took me like a month to write one blog or something like that. And I was like, okay, great. I wrote one blog in a month. I need to do one blog in a week. I needed to start to figure out what the writing process was for me. I had to figure out what was the perfect writing process for me. And I did. And it was so funny because when I put out the first blog, they had all these mistakes and I read it like 50 times. I still had mistakes. I thought it was perfect, but it wasn't. But it was I guess you can say, a moment that I can appreciate how much work I put into something. It still wasn't perfect. And then every subsequent blog that has come out from me, we have maybe close to 300 articles right now that you can read. It's a whole book. And you can gain all of this information for free. And I started to say, every blog started to become more better, more enhanced, deeper in a way of thinking. And I love for my readers and my coaches, because some coaches, they like look me up when they, before they come on, because I don't do any pre-meeting conversations with people. And they would read these articles and they say, oh, they're really good. And I'm like, thanks. And in my head, I'm not like, I don't really have an ego or anything. I used to. For me, it's just kind of like a day's worth of work. I'm not like, I don't need to be appreciated every single day. I don't need to be told that I'm doing excellent work every single day. I set that standard for myself. I create that tone. It's not about being perfect for at least me. It's about me working every single day to that masterpiece, because I understand that I can be perfect one day, but just not yet. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. I will be here for you, revenconcepts.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.